The CBS Radio Mystery Theater presents... Come in. Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall. The moving finger writes, and having writ, moves on. Nor all your piety nor wit shall lure it back again to cancel half a line. Nor all your tears wash out a word of it. Or put it this way, you can never erase nor rewrite what has been inscribed in the book of your life. Or can you? Our mystery drama, The Gift, was written especially for the Mystery Theater by Sam Dan and stars Robert Dryden. We have laws against it, both man-made and divine. Practically all civilized and most uncivilized societies as well prohibit it. So then, how do you account for the fact that murder has flourished since the dim red dawn of history? Murder by individuals, murder by groups, murder at wholesale, murder at retail, but murder everywhere, and enough to spare. We're in a pretty little cafe lounge. A man and a woman are at a table holding hands. They seem to be very much in love. And yet, as we listen, the very first word we hear is murder.
Now, what brings this on?
We plan to do it, don't we?
Of course, darling. But we don't have to talk about it.
What do you mean we don't have to talk about it?
Well, what I mean is, we don't have to talk about it anymore.
Rita?
Everything we have to say has already been discussed. It only remains to be done.
Yeah. Well, maybe...
Walter, are you beginning to have second thoughts?
I don't know.
Well, for your information, you were the first to mention it 6 months ago. Didn't you say, if only Dennis weren't around?
Well, yes, but that didn't mean...
What did it mean?
You have a way of turning...
I have a way of cutting through the nonsense, of cracking the shell to get at the meat. Well, do you want to call it off?
Do you?
Walter, the time has come for you to take a stand and to stay there.
Suppose we get caught.
We're going through all that again.
Now, it's something to think about.
It was something to think about. It was one of a great many problems and dangers, but we considered each one of them, arrived at a decision, and put them all behind us. Yes. Well, there's no guarantee we'll get away with it.
Does it have to be done today?
Will it be easier tomorrow?
Oh, I guess you're right.
No. We're right. This is being done by the two of us.
Yes.
It's 5 o'clock. Time to go.
I don't see the waitress around. We'll have to wait.
Just leave a $10 bill on the table. That'll more than cover it.
Rita...
I'm leaving now, Walter. With you or without you.
Ah, hello, dear. And Walter.
Dennis, darling?
Just in time for cocktails. Oh, I know how negative you feel about classical music, Walt.
Well, I don't exactly...
You've got a tin ear, that's your problem. Well, turn the thing off, Rita Angel, whilst I pour us each a little libation here. No, darling. You turn it the other way. That's louder. Oh, now, Rita, really, it's enough to blast your eardrums.
Walter, now.
Walter, now what?
Walter!
Hey, where'd you get... What are you going to do with the gun?
You have to do it.
Oh, no. Walter, don't.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Holland.
I'm all right.
Now, in your own words, can you tell us what happened?
Well, Lieutenant Savage, I've already described...
I know, Mr. Powers, but another eyewitness report of the same event usually adds some detail that we...
I don't mind, Lieutenant. I want to help as much as I can.
Thank you.
As Walter, Mr. Powers said, we came into the apartment at... Well, it must have been about, 5:15.
Mm-hmm.
Dennis was listening to his music in the study. I'd recently bought a painting, a Faraday landscape. Have you ever heard of him?
Yes, Mrs. Allen.
Then you know. I had it hung in the living room. Walter hadn't seen it yet, so he and I went inside and...
Yes, Mrs. Allen?
You know how you can get lost in a Faraday landscape. So, we must have been looking at it for all of 10 minutes. Then we went back to the study and...
Would you care for a drink of water, Mrs. Holland?
No, we saw Dennis lying on the floor. He was very still, and you could see that dark stain of blood on his shirt over his heart. You knew, you could tell that he was...
And, what else did you see?
What else did I see?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, not very much. Nothing, I'm afraid.
Well, did you notice that the, what did you call it, Mr. Powers?
The Tacitus collection, Lieutenant.
That's it, the Tacitus collection. Did you notice that it was gone?
I'm afraid the only thing I really saw was my husband, lying dead. I tried to close my eyes against it, Lieutenant.
Now, as I understand it, your husband had these coins called the Tacitus collection.
Yes. They were 12 English gold sovereigns minted in 1662 by King Charles II to honor one of his friends, Lord Tacitus.
Uh-huh. And what was this collection worth?
Oh, it had been insured for $100,000.
And your husband wanted to sell it?
Yes.
Why?
Dennis was a mercurial person, filled with sudden whims, subject to unpredictable moods. He was always buying and selling, changing his mind. It was all part of his charm.
And where was the collection usually kept?
In a vault.
Then how was it he had these valuable coins in the house?
The word was out. You know, among collectors and in the trade. People were coming to look.
Well, isn't it usual to sell these things at auction? And to turn them over to a dealer?
Dennis did things his own way. He wanted to be sure that the buyer would be someone who could appreciate the meaning of the collection.
Then Dennis was home all day.
Oh, yes. He was expecting buyers. At about, 3, I went out for a walk, and I ran into Mr. Powers here. We stopped for a drink, and then decided to go home, pick up Dennis for dinner, the theater.
You came home. Now, you remember seeing the collection on his desk?
Yes, I'm sure I did. It would have to be there, because if he'd already sold it, he'd have said so.
Now, you went into the other room to look at the painting, and you were there for 10 minutes. Now, during these 10 minutes, someone came in. How would that person enter?
The only way is through the front door.
Well, he'd have to ring a bell. The door locks automatically, and there's no sign of forced entry. You didn't hear a bell?
No. Well, you see, he had his music going. It was very loud.
And this same someone then shoots your husband. You didn't hear a shot?
No.
And you didn't either, Mr. Powers?
No. As she said, the music was going full blast in the next room.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Holland.
Is that all?
Yes, that's all.
Lieutenant Savage. Dennis Holland was my closest friend. He was also a fine human being. His murderer must not go unpunished.
We'll do what we can. Tom, Eddie, got your pictures? You ready? All right, let's leave. Oh, goodbye, Mrs. Holland, Mr. Powers. Oh, don't bother. We can let ourselves out.
Rita, we got away with it. This detective bought the story. I could tell he bought the story.
Because we made it easy for him. A simple story. No frills. He had the coins on the desk. We were in the next room. Someone comes in to buy, kills him. He's got the music going. We don't hear a thing. We come back. It's all over.
Beautiful.
And do you want to know why? It's a good story because it's built on a platform of facts. Each one can be readily verified. First, Dennis did own the Tacitor collection. Second, he did want to sell it. He'd taken out ads. Third, he did bring it home from the vault. The clerk would remember. Fourth, people were coming in and out all day. Fifth, I said we went into the living room to look at a new Faraday painting. Oh, there is a new Faraday painting. Sixth, we said we couldn't hear anything because the music was so loud. Oh, the neighbors will be glad to tell the police how constantly they complained about that loud music.
Wait a minute.
What?
Wait. Good Lord.
What is it?
Should we be talking like this?
Like what?
Should we be saying what we're saying? It just occurs to me there were 2 or 3 detectives poking about the place while Lieutenant Savage was talking to us. What were they doing?
Well, they were taking pictures, looking for fingerprints and, well, anything that might serve as a clue.
That's what they'd like us to think they were doing. How do you know they weren't planting secret microphones?
Whatever for?
To record this very conversation.
Oh, well, if they did it, they did it.
Then you admit they did it.
Oh, come on, Walter. It's so far-fetched.
Is anything far-fetched today? Look, a man is murdered. The police automatically suspect his wife and his friend.
Oh, not when there's $100,000 robbery.
The robbery story is our story.
Now, look, we have a lot to do. First, hide the gun and the coins up on the farm. Second, like a true and loyal friend, make the funeral arrangements, will you? But before you do that, take me home to my mother's, and then you can return to your place, and I'll call you.
What's this music? Where's this music coming from?
From a record player.
A record player? But I don't have a record player.
I bought you one.
You bought... Dennis.
Yes, Dennis.
But you're dead. You have to be dead, Dennis. You're dead, and yet you're standing here.
That's a pretty good declarative sentence, isn't it? You're dead, and you're standing here. It consists of 2 independent clauses, and you would think that one negates the other. Well, grammar is grammar, and murder is murder. But surely in this case, something has to give. Give me a few minutes of breathing space, and I shall return shortly with Act 2. The basic drawback of being dead is that it lasts forever. This bit of wisdom was uttered by an anonymous character in a forgotten novel by a completely undistinguished writer named T. Presley McClellan. However, it does seem to have captured what was always considered a fundamental human truth. Are we about to discover a new vision? At 5:15 p.m., Mr. Walter Powers shoots and kills his best friend, Mr. Dennis Holland. At 9 p.m. that same evening, Mr. Walter Powers returns to his apartment, and who is sitting there listening to a Beethoven symphony? Why, Mr. Dennis Holland.
Dennis, you...
I'm here. Start with that.
You're dead.
Well, who knows that better than you, Walter? You killed me.
But you're here.
Obviously.
Well, you can't be here. If I killed you...
Unless you're imagining it?
Yes. Yes, that's it. It's all in my imagination.
If it's your imagination, how do you account for the music?
I can't account for it. Turn the damn thing off.
If you say so, Walter. But still, you must account for it. You know you don't own a record player. Did you subconsciously go out and buy one?
Why would I buy one?
Because you're now in the hands of your conscience. Remorse.
What I did, I would do again. It's just that I have to expect a few bad moments. I think I see you.
But you do see me. I'm here. The record player proves it. If I'm just a creature of your guilty imagination, then how do you account for the player? And maybe you needed it to help the illusion, eh? But the fact is, it's here. How did it get here?
Well, I must have gone out and bought it myself.
When? You spent the afternoon with Rita. You killed me at exactly 14 minutes after 5. You were at the apartment with the police and one thing or another till 8. Then you had to take Rita to her mother's, and here you are at 9 o'clock, with every minute accounted for.
Yeah, but still,
No, Walter. The record player is here because I brought it. And I brought it as a gift.
A gift?
I owe you a present.
For what?
For killing me.
What are you saying?
If you hadn't done it, I'd have had to do it myself, and I just wouldn't be able to summon the courage. So, let me begin by thanking you.
Yeah, I don't understand.
I was very sick, Walter. The doctor said I'd be lucky to live a year.
Oh, I didn't know.
Well, I just found out. Lucky to have a year. And then he said in a few weeks there might be some very intense pain.
And then you would have...
Died, yes. I would have died anyway. But in terrible agony. That's one reason I thank you.
One reason?
Well, the other is I'm broke.
You were broke?
Busted, cleaned out, washed up. Why do you think I was selling the Tacitus collection?
I don't know. I thought you were bored with it.
Oh, never. It had to go to meet my debts. In about 4 or 5 months, the truth about my financial juggling would come out. I'd be disgraced. And there I'd be, deathly ill, stone broke, and under indictment. You saved me from that, Walter. I thank you. That's what I came back to tell you.
But the dead cannot come back.
You know, I used to think that myself. But the dead do come back all the time. It's just that so many of the living are too blind, too insensitive to see them, to feel them, to hear them.
I hear you. I see you so clearly. But it has to be my imagination.
I'll turn this on. Listen. That's not your imagination. I want you to develop a taste for it, Walter. You'll thank me.
What's going to happen?
I'll go back where I belong.
Where you belong?
I don't belong here. I just have some unfinished business, that's all.
Unfinished business?
I have to take care of you.
Me?
You're my best friend. Look at what you did for me.
But I murdered you. I murdered you in cold blood. You had that look in your eyes just before I pulled the trigger. Do you think I'll ever forget that look?
Oh, you were always so melodramatic, Walter.
As I fired, there was a brilliant flash.
Oh, you're telling me. I thought I'd go blind.
For a second, your eyes became very bright, and then they started to become darker and darker as the light in them flickered and slowly faded. Then all the light went out of them.
I was dead, yes. That's exactly what it feels like. All the light goes out of you, and you're lost in a dark void.
I'm sorry, Dennis.
Oh, you're not to blame. She put you up to it. I know she did. She knows how to drive a man wild. Well, she'll grow tired of you. And after a while, you'll sense it in her eyes. Her restless eyes. Already she's planning for your successor.
Now, wait a minute, Dennis.
Unconsciously. After all, she hasn't even met him yet. But she will. One day. And then she'll be prepared.
What are you driving at?
What did you do with the gun and the coins?
I hid them
Why didn't you destroy them?
because she said to hide them
Hide them? Hide them where?
up at the farm.
What for? So she can have that gun handy in case she'll need it?
Why would she need it?
Well, she needed a gun for me, didn't she?
Are you saying...
Oh, she may not use it to shoot you. She'll bring that gun to the police.
The police?
Do you know what she'll say?
Come on, Dennis, what can she say? She's in it up to her neck.
Which is why she wants to get out.
But what can she say?
She is such a resourceful, inventive, creative woman. Can't you imagine what she could say? Think, Walter. Think.
Listen to me, Lieutenant. He did it. Walter Powers did it.
Are you accusing Walter Powers, Mrs. Holland?
Protect me. Don't let him kill me. He's insane. Walter's insane. I'll tell you everything. We came back to the apartment. Walter hated Dennis. He shot Dennis. Shot him in cold blood.
Just a minute, please, Mrs. Holland.
Walter wanted those coins. That Tacitus collection. He shot Dennis, and he forced me to go along with the story, or else he'd kill me. You don't know what he's like.
Mrs. Holland, have you got any sort of proof?
Proof? I know where he hid the coins. And the gun.
Could she play a scene like that? Is Rita capable of it, Walter?
But she loves me.
Oh, she also loved me. It comes and goes with her. Why cling to a dying tree? Why treasure what can no longer blossom?
Those words.
How would I know those words? Oh, foolish Walter. Didn't she also speak them to me one day? She whispered them on a sailboat. We were running before a freshening breeze. Her long, honey-colored hair was flying straight back in the wind. A wind that also held her shirt taut against that beautiful curving line of her body. She can make you believe anything in a moment like that. Tell me, where and when did she whisper those words to you?
That can't be real. You can't be real.
Listen to the music again, Walter. Only I could have brought it here. It proves this is real. It proves I'm here to help you. Here to save you.
Save me from what? From her? Is that it?
Yes.
Because she'll want to get rid of me one day?
Right.
No, there's something you forget. Sure, there was another guy before you, and she ditched him for you, and she got rid of you for me. And you say my turn's coming up.
Exactly.
Well, maybe it isn't. Maybe there's something you can't face up to. Maybe you and how many other guys before you simply weren't man enough for her.
Mr. Macho. All right, let's assume that's true.
Then your whole theory flies out the window.
Only to walk in again through the door. That little scene in the police station.
What little scene? You mean that imaginary little
It
episode?
will have to take place, you know.
Why? Because you say so?
Because logic demands it.
What logic?
The logic of reality. The man is shot to death. In the house at the time are his wife and his best friend. Now, what the investigating detective asks himself at the very beginning is, are these two having an affair? I would say he's convinced they are.
Why?
Because he's trained. His experience teaches him to look for those things.
But how can he tell?
People in love give themselves away in any one of an infinite number of little things, Walter. A glance, a gesture, a smile, a frown, who knows? And so we begin with your Lieutenant Savage. You think he's a dull, plodding policeman. Don't sell him short. Lieutenant Savage, what do you think he's doing right now?
Well, how would I know?
You can picture it. He's in his office, at his desk.
Lieutenant Savage. Oh, yes, Inspector. I'm doing the report right now. Well, Dennis Holland had these coins worth about $100,000. A crook could have come in, killed him, and grabbed him. So we have to run a net among dealers, collectors, and so forth. On the other hand, we got the wife and the best friend. Now, they're in the next room while a .38 caliber revolver goes off. And they claim they didn't hear a thing. Well, that's what they say. I think I get a little bit of a click there. Well, I want to give it a play. Yeah, I'll get right on it.
And he's on it this very minute. What'll he discover, Walter?
What'll he discover? Nothing.
Are you trying to tell me there was nothing?
We were very discreet.
Discreet?
Nobody knows about us.
Nobody? Let's check that out. We are now in the area of routine. Basic police routine. The police are experts when it comes to routine. And if it's a crime that can be solved by the use of routine, the police crack it every time.
I don't know what you're talking
Or
about.
you wish you didn't know what I was talking about. Tomorrow morning, Lieutenant Savage is going to ring Rita's doorbell. And do you know what he's going to ask her?
How could I know?
Well, it's a question he couldn't ask her this afternoon. She was too upset. But it's a question both you and she can very well expect.
What is the question?
Well, you should know. It's the question that marks the beginning of the routine.
The beginning of the routine, the end of which leads to a lifetime in a cell or just a fleeting moment on a scaffold. Neither is a prospect which actually pleases. And what is this question that can give birth to all the woes and troubles that threaten to engulf Walter Powers? Not to mention Rita Holland. Well, we'll give birth to Act 3 shortly. Whoever it was that said, "We are a world of strangers, we see each other dimly as flickering shadows in a darkened room," may have had something. What do we really know about the next fellow? Walter Powers and Dennis Holland were lifelong friends. And yet, did Walter know he'd be doing Dennis a favor by killing him?
What question is Lieutenant Savage going to ask?
Can't you picture it? He will ring the bell. Rita will answer the door. He will apologize for disturbing her. He will say,
I just have a few questions, Mrs. Holland.
Yes?
Now, you said you were at home with your husband till 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon,
3 o'clock. Yes, that's about right.
And then you went out for a walk.
Yes?
And then you said, now I don't remember whether you said you met Mr. Powers or you ran into Mr. Powers.
Oh, well, it wasn't a set appointment or anything. It's just that's the way it would happen every day.
I see. Now, you said you went in for a drink.
Well, yes, we generally would.
Where?
Where do we go for a drink?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, that little place just off the square, Miletti's.
I see, Miletti's.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much.
Lieutenant.
Yes, Mrs. Holland?
Is that important?
It's just routine.
routine. That's the first routine question. Now, Walter, what do you suppose will be the second?
I don't know.
Where do you suppose he's going to ask it? Miletti's, of course. Miletti's.
Miletti's?
You would sit at the piano bar, wouldn't you?
Yes.
And Jerry, the piano player, knew you, didn't he?
Yes.
What's he going to tell Lieutenant Savage?
How would I know?
Oh, now you know. This is a murder case. Jerry is not about to lie to a cop. Jerry's going to tell Lieutenant Savage exactly what he saw. And you know what he saw.
Well, Lieutenant, I mean, they'd come in most every afternoon for a happy hour, you know?
What would they do?
What would they do?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah, a couple drinks and listen to me play the piano. I mean, what were they supposed to do, huh?
Did they hold hands? Well, did you ever see them hold hands? Now, that's a direct question.
Yeah.
How often? Every time they were here alone?
Well, I don't know. I don't count.
But they did hold hands, hmm?
Oh, yeah. But that don't have to mean anything. It could just be friendly.
Did he ever put his arm around her?
Yeah, he might have. Once or twice.
Uh-huh. They ever kiss?
Maybe. Once or twice.
All right, Jerry. That's good enough. I'll let you off the hook. Now.
Now. That's where the routine pauses, gathers momentum, and moves ahead. So, what do you suppose Lieutenant Savage is going to do now? He knows that you and Rita are having an affair.
He has no proof.
Oh, he knows it in his bones, Walter. He has the building blocks. All he has to do is put them in place. So, he's going to ask questions. Many questions of many people. Think of all the people who knew about or suspected that you and Rita were having an affair. Think in particular of Millicent Weber.
Millicent?
Ah, the name drains all the color from your face. And rightly so. Now, when in the course of his routine investigation, Lieutenant Savage talks to Millicent Weber, what do you suppose she's going to tell him? Would I love to be there to hear it? But you know perfectly well just exactly what she'll say.
I would rather not discuss Walter Powers, Lieutenant.
Mrs. Weber, this is a murder investigation.
And what you want to know from me is, was there anything between Walter and Rita Holland?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, let me save us both some time. I read the story in the paper about poor Dennis's murder, how a robber shot him. I don't believe a word of it.
You don't?
No, and you don't either. Walter and Rita were having an affair.
Now, you would testify to this in court?
No, but only because my testimony would be prejudicial. You see, I have reason to detest Walter Powers.
May I ask the reason?
He was engaged to my youngest sister. He broke it off to run around with that married woman. Doris took it very hard. I tried to tell her she was better off out of it, but she was a very romantic child. She was at the beach last summer. There was an accident. She drowned. I think she did it deliberately. That's all I can tell you.
Do you know of any way we could prove Rita Holland and Walter Powers were having an affair?
No. Wait. Of course I do. The Riverview Motel. I wanted to expose him, so I had him shadowed. The detective reported that Walter and Rita had spent several nights there. I presented the evidence to Doris.
Yes?
That was the end of things between them. But it was also the beginning of the end of everything for Doris.
The Riverview Motel. Thank you, Mrs. Weber.
The Riverview Motel, Walter. That's what Millicent will tell him. And how many desk clerks, chambermaids, and cocktail waitresses will remember the two of you together there?
What are you trying to convince me of?
Well, that you are getting closer and closer to that little scene in the police station where she sells you down the river.
No, you don't know how much she really loves me. She would never do that.
Well, she may have no choice, Walter. The routine. It's become a juggernaut. It threatens to ride right over her. Now, Lieutenant Savage is going to go back to her. Now, Lieutenant Savage is armed. He's ready. And you can just picture what he's going to say to her.
You're crazy.
You mean you can't picture it, Walter? You mean he isn't going to ask her?
Mrs. Holland, are you having an affair with Walter Powers?
Am I? What?
Shall I repeat the question?
How dare you? But you have no right to ask such an insulting, slanderous question.
Mrs. Holland, if I were to go to the Riverview Motel...
The Riverview Motel?
would I find witnesses among the personnel who could testify that you and Mr. Powers engaged a room there quite often? Would I?
Lieutenant, listen to me. He did it. Walter Powers. He did it.
So you see, Walter, the scene. We are ready for the scene. You don't believe it.
I don't believe any of this. I can't. I'm going crazy. I have this hallucination that you're here, that a dead man is talking to me, that a man I killed is here in this room talking to me.
Oh, if only it were an hallucination.
All of this is unreal. All of this is fear and phantom. All Rita and I must do is not lose our heads.
She has to sell you down the river, Walter.
No. You're not real. All I have to do is shut you out of my mind.
I'm real, Walter. It's a reality you can't understand yet. In this room, however, there is a reality that you can understand. It takes up room. You can stub your toe against it. You can touch it. Turn the switch on, you can hear it. The record player, Walter. I brought you the record player. You left the house at 3 this afternoon. It wasn't here, was it?
No.
Well, I keep telling you, I brought it as a gift so that you would believe me.
But
It's the finest you can buy, Walter, exactly like the one I have, or I had in my house. You see? Look at it. Listen to it. Only I could have brought it, yes? Yes. Place yourself in my hands. I'm the only one who can help you, really. She mustn't play that scene in the police station. She's capable of it, isn't she? Isn't she?
yes.
One way or another, one day or another, you have to be killed. Just as I had to be killed. Kill her first.
Well, no.
You have to.
But that'll surely... I mean, the police... I'll be arrested for murder.
No, you won't.
Well, what do you mean, I won't?
Walter, I'm dead. Which means I see things. Kill her. You won't be caught. Right now, she's asleep, all alone, at her mother's house. Go there quietly. Kill her quietly. No one will know. Kill her. You'll get away with it. Trust me. Believe me.
Believe you?
Isn't this music proof that you can believe me?
Yes. Yes.
What are you doing here? Oh, no. No, Walter. Not with a knife. Oh, my God.
I hope you got rid of the knife.
I threw it off the bridge.
Good. No one will ever find it.
What happens now?
Nothing. The police probe and pry and poke around. But proof? None at all. Sit tight.
Sit tight.
Sit tight and enjoy the music.
Who could that be?
Why don't you answer it?
Oh, hey, this is a break. I'm glad you're home.
Well, who are you?
Well, who do you think I am? I'm glad you're enjoying the set. Maybe you want to buy one, huh? Hey, maybe that's not such a bad way to advertise.
What are you talking about?
This dame wanted to give her husband a surprise birthday present in apartment 4E. She bought him this here record player.
What are you saying?
Only that stupid salesman at the store wrote down 3E on a ticket instead. The super let me in here earlier.
No, you're making a mistake.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I made a mistake.
This record player, it's a gift from Dennis.
Oh, look there. Leave me explain it again.
Dennis, tell him.
You see, this woman calls me up.
Dennis.
She's having a fit. Where's that record player? I paid for that record player.
Dennis!
Yeah, I said, lady, I delivered that record player. I installed it in apartment 3E, like the ticket said.
Dennis, why don't you tell him?
3E, she yells. It's 4E.
Please, tell him, Dennis.
So, if you don't mind, I'll just have to unhook this.
No, what are you doing?
What am I doing?
That's mine.
Well, buddy, I just explained.
Dennis gave it to me.
Are you nuts?
Dennis told me it would be all right.
Look, do I have to get a cop?
Dennis said nothing could happen to me. Even after you kill her, he said nothing can happen to you. Dennis knows. No, you know how Dennis knows? Well, go ahead, ask me.
How does Dennis know?
Because Dennis is dead.
Oh, yeah, I see. I see. Look, I must have made a mistake.
Yeah, of course you did, yes. It was Dennis who brought me this wonderful record player.
Oh, sure, of course he did, pal. Yeah, sure. Why don't you just... excuse me. Excuse me.
The end of the story? It writes itself. That poor, frightened sound technician. Can't you see him hailing a police cruiser or making a frantic call from the nearest phone booth? Can't you see the police arrive and take our friend Walter into custody? And you know perfectly well that poor Walter has had it one way or another. It's probably a cell in an asylum for the rest of his life. If he ever recovers, it'll be a cell in a prison. Which would you choose? Choose neither. I'll be back shortly. Can the dead, do the dead ever come back? Of course they do. All the time. They come back in what we do, in what we say, and even in what we are. They are gone from our sight. Their voices are still, and we see them and hear them so clearly sometimes. Who was it that said, to be remembered is to live forever? This is E.G. Marshall inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time, pleasant dreams.
The CBS Radio Mystery Theater presents... Come in. Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall, opening the door to another tale of mystery and suspense, inviting you to open your ears and your mind to the world of terrifying imagination. You're about to be taken on an unusual museum tour. There won't be any Mona Lisas on this tour, no Greek vases or Roman statuary, because this establishment specializes in only one kind of exhibit. And that's why our story is called The Murder Museum. You may have been to a murder museum like the one in our story, a house of wax, where the most brutal crimes of the century are recreated in paraffin for the wide-eyed enjoyment of the public. But now you're going to have the unique opportunity of hearing one of the most shocking exhibits of all speak for itself. Our mystery drama, The Murder Museum, was written especially for the Mystery Theater by Henry Slessor and stars Michael Wager. Our tale begins inside the Murder Museum itself, the home of Professor Raphael Gallinari's House of Horrors. There's a fair-sized crowd in the museum today. As usual, they listen in fascination to the words of their tour guide as he takes them from one bloody exhibit to another, recreating for them the terrible crimes which have immortalized these criminals and their victims. But there is one person in the crowd who seems reluctant to listen to his words, who hangs back and shields her pretty eyes from the sight of the wax images. Her name is Lisa Brandon.
To this day, no man knows the true identity of the madman known as Jack the Ripper. But the theory persists that he may well have been a physician or at least a medical student, judging from the skill with which he wielded the instrument you see clutched in this hand as he attacks the terrified young woman. And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes the tour of Professor Gallinari's Murder Museum. Thank you for your patronage, and please tell your friends about us.
Sir, excuse me.
Yes, miss?
Could I ask you a question?
Why, yes, of course.
I was curious about the Raymond exhibit, but I see that you haven't opened it to the public.
No, miss. The Raymond exhibit is still closed for repairs.
Well, the truth is, it's the only reason I came to the Murder Museum. I wanted to see the Raymond.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. The exhibit won't be open for another week at least. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going out for some coffee.
But even if it isn't completely ready, I wonder if you'd mind showing it to me.
Oh, I'm sorry, miss. I can't do that.
Well, I came a long way to see it, all the way from San Francisco. It would be a terrible disappointment. Look, I'm willing to pay you.
Now, please, put that money away, miss. Why is it so important for you to see the Raymond? You, any connection with the family?
Well, yes, in a way. I knew Vincent Raymond. I met him when he lived in San Francisco.
I see.
Look, you said you were going out for coffee. Could I come with you?
Well, sure. I just go to this little coffee shop down the street, but you're welcome to come along. So you knew Vincent Raymond. You an artist, too?
No, not really. But my brother owned a small art gallery on Green Street.
And sold Raymond's paintings?
Well, actually, no. He didn't really care for Vincent's work. It was so dark and gloomy. Frightening, really. But he felt sorry for him, and he loaned him some money, and sometimes he let him help out in the gallery.
And that's how you met him?
Yes, that's right. I came home from college, and I met Vincent. I didn't know anything about him.
Meaning, about his parents?
It took Vincent a long time before he was willing to talk to me about them. Vincent?
Yeah?
Isn't that music a little loud?
Sorry, I'll turn it down.
Are you angry with me or something?
No, why should I be?
I don't know. You've hardly said 2 words to me tonight. All through dinner,
I was trying to digest that rotten food. Whoever told me that restaurant was worth trying must have had a secret death wish.
I didn't mind it.
Had only one thing to recommend it. It was cheap. That's the only criterion I have, you know?
I didn't complain, did I?
No, you never complain. You just suffer in silence. You think I'm some kind of gifted, starving artist who has to be tolerated for his poverty.
Oh, you're so hard on yourself, Vincent.
Well, let me tell you something, Lisa. I'm starving, but I'm not an artist.
Well, let's not talk about it tonight. Let's just relax.
You know I can't paint. Your brother knows it. I fill all my canvases with memories of my own nightmares, only you cannot call them art.
Vincent, why do you paint in such a gloomy style? I've never seen you paint with anything that had any color or lightness. All those blacks and grays and slashes of red. Oh, I know I'm no sort of expert, but can't you talk about your work with me?
There's a reason for it, Lisa. There's a reason.
Well, what?
I told you, my nightmares, they're all visions in black and gray and slashes of red.
Well, then if you won't talk about your paintings, why not tell me about your nightmares?
You wouldn't enjoy hearing about them. Or rather, about it.
It?
I have only one nightmare. Just one. I have it virtually every night. Sometimes it follows me into the daylight. I can close my eyes, and there it is. For years, I've tried to destroy it by painting it. Not its details, just its colors. But the therapy hasn't worked.
Please tell me about it.
I've never told anyone before.
But why not?
I suppose I never met the person I wanted to confide in. Maybe now I have. But if I'm going to do that, this music has to stop. My mother's maiden name might mean nothing to you, but at one time, many years ago, it was famous among people who loved the theater. She was an actress. Her name was Ada Krim.
Ada Krim? But I think I do know that name, Vincent.
She was born and raised in England. She was known as the beautiful Ada. She didn't have a very long acting career because she capped her success on the stage with an even more successful marriage. She became the bride of John Lloyd Raymond.
Your father?
Yes. My father. He was a wealthy man. My grandfather had left him heir to one of the largest glass manufacturing companies in the West. Mirrored glass was his specialty. It seemed very appropriate to have our house full of mirrors. Maybe that's how it all started, that problem.
What problem?
Well, you know the way mirrors are, Lisa. After a few years go by, they stop being kind. And when that happened to my mother, she had to do something about it. Something to prove that she was still the beautiful Ada. No matter what the mirrors were beginning to say.
And what did she do, Vincent?
She took lovers. Lovers are the best kind of mirrors for a bored rich woman.
Were you the only child?
Yeah. I was her only child. At first, I was a pampered little boy, one of her favorite playthings. Then she became bored with me, too. She stopped noticing that I was around. Maybe that's why she never made any attempts to hide her actions from me. She simply didn't know I was there.
Vincent, you saw these men?
I think I've said enough.
So, you never found out what Vincent's dream was all about?
Not then, I didn't know.
But you could have guessed, I suppose, if you knew the history of Ada Krim and John Raymond.
Well, yes, I became curious enough to learn the history. I had a friend who worked in a newspaper, and she checked into the dead files and found the story for me, the whole terrible story. But I didn't tell Vincent that I knew about it. It was obvious that he didn't want anyone to know the truth. But one day it emerged.
Oh.
Well, it was a beautiful spring day, the first really warm day of the season, and Vincent and I went for a walk. Vincent, why don't we walk down to Ghirardelli Square? We could do some window shopping, maybe have some lunch.
Considering the state of my finances, we'd better window shop the restaurants, too.
Oh, no, I have money.
Good for you.
Are you going to be stubborn again?
I'm going to teach you a lesson.
I'll tell you what, Vincent. I'll buy myself some lunch if you want to split a hamburger with me.
Wait a minute.
Then you
Fool around with me.
Get your hands off me!
You need a lesson.
Hey, you get away from her.
It's about time somebody...
Get away from her!
Help me!
Hey,
Help
you
me!
take your hands off her!
Away from Please, Vincent,
my
you
wife.
don't!
I don't give a...
Stop it, Vincent, for God's sake! Vincent! Vincent!
I'm sorry, Lisa. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. I just went crazy.
Why? What made you do it, Vincent? You could have killed that man.
I couldn't stop myself when I saw what he was doing and what he was
But
going
they
to
were
do.
man and wife.
Yeah. Man and wife, so were my parents.
Was that the reason? Was it because you saw your mother and father quarrel?
Quarrel? You think that's all they did? Don't you know the truth yet?
Yes, Vincent, I do know. I didn't want to tell you before, but I know that your father murdered your mother.
And you know how he murdered her. My father came home early one night. A full day earlier than he was expected. He walked into my mother's bedroom, and that man was there. Might have killed him, too, but he was fast on his feet. We lived in a very old-fashioned house, Lisa. Quaint, old-fashioned Victorian manner. The kind that still had gas lamps on the wall. And fire axes. I used to hear my father joking to his friends about the fire axe on the wall.
Vincent, don't talk about it.
When he saw my mother, he ripped the axe off the wall, and he used it.
Please.
You read about it, Lisa, but I saw it.
You what?
I was 6 years old, terrified 6-year-old, who came to find out what all the noise was about.
Oh, no.
I saw the whole thing happen from the first stroke of the axe to the final blow.
Oh.
Now you know what my nightmare is all about, all the blacks and grays and slashes of red.
Oh, you poor man.
All right. Now, I've told you the whole story, so maybe now you know why I can't see you again.
What?
Don't come near me again, do you hear me?
Vincent!
Don't come near me. Ever!
It's been said that the mind is like a haunted house, where the ghosts of the past rattle their chains and cry out their suffering. Of course, that's why we have our psychiatrists and psychoanalysts, and these days, even our exorcists. The house cleaners of the mind. But what will it take to free Vincent Raymond of his demons? Or can he ever be freed? We'll find out more when I return shortly with Act 2. And now, Act 2 of The Murder Museum. Lisa Brandon has come all the way from San Francisco to see the Raymond exhibit. But she seems to be having a hard time talking the museum guide into allowing her a private showing. However, she hasn't given up.
Yes. I was in love with Vincent Raymond, and I was terribly unhappy when he walked out of my life.
You mean you never saw him again?
Oh, yes, I saw him again, but things weren't the same between us. He was tormented by the memory of what he had seen, and it changed his life.
The dreams began in the orphanage. They began there and they never stopped. I woke up screaming in horror every time the dream came to me. I became an outcast, without friends, without sympathy.
Oh, Vincent, I'm so sorry.
That's when I realized that my only hope for any sort of life was keeping my secret.
But you're not a child now.
No, I'm older, Lisa, but nothing's changed for me. Oh, yeah. There's one thing that's changed.
Well, what's that?
I'm giving up my so-called art. I'm going to look for a job.
Well, I'm sorry, Vincent, because I did think you had talent.
I've got to get some money to live on. My talent won't provide that.
Well, I thought you had some savings.
They're all gone after that lawsuit.
What lawsuit?
That man I beat up on the street. He sued me for damages. He won, of course. His wife stood up in court and verified that I'd beaten him up with no provocation at all. Nothing like a wife's loyalty, is there?
But, Vincent, why didn't you let me know? I would have been a witness for you.
Oh, it mattered.
Well, how are you living now?
Well, on the welfare rolls, of course. But don't worry about me.
Look, if I can lend you any money, it won't...
No, I have borrowed enough from you and your brother. I don't want any more money or sympathy. Just leave me alone, Lisa. Can't you get that through your head? Leave me alone.
He did find a job eventually, waiting on tables down at Fisherman's Wharf. He seemed to sink lower and lower every day. My brother and I tried to help him all we could, but he refused to take any more charity. I tried to sell his paintings by putting them in the window of our little gallery. But there was only one person who seemed interested in Vincent's gloomy efforts. Hello? May I help you?
Yes. I have been looking at the paintings in your window, trying to make out the artist's name.
Oh, his name is Raymond.
Raymond? Would that be Vincent Raymond, by any chance?
Oh, yes, it is. Did you like the work?
It's interesting. I'm an artist myself. But that sort of thing, all those dark colors, it doesn't really appeal to me.
Oh, I see.
However, I am interested in the artist. I wonder if you could tell me how to reach him. Is he a local resident?
Yes, he lives in San Francisco. Oh, would you mind telling me your name?
Oh, yes, of course. Here is my card.
Raphael Gallinari.
You might say that I am a portrait artist.
Oh, and is that why you want to meet Vincent? To paint his portrait?
Something like that. Now, will you help me?
All right. I'll tell you where you can reach him.
Who is it?
Raphael Gallinari.
Who?
Please open the door, Mr. Raymond.
What do you want?
May I speak to you for a few moments, Mr. Raymond?
I don't know you.
I thought perhaps the young lady in the art gallery might have mentioned my name to you.
What young lady? Oh, you mean Lisa?
May I come in, please? It's about a rather important matter.
Oh. All right, come in. What is it you want, Mr... What was that name again?
Gallinari. Please, my card.
What are you, some kind of bill collector?
No, Mr. Raymond. As a matter of fact, I'm an artist, like yourself.
Tough luck for you, Mr. Gallinari, if you're an artist like me. Take a look around. You see any canvases in this place?
I understand that you are working at a restaurant these days.
That's right. Listen, if it's my work you're interested in, they're all at the gallery.
Let me be honest with you, Mr. Raymond. It isn't your work I care about. It's mine.
Yours?
That is correct. You see, I am a portrait artist, a sculptor, actually.
So what?
This is how we differ in our talents. Yours is dependent on the quality of imagination, while mine is devoted to verisimilitude. If you would permit me, perhaps I can buy us both some dinner and we can talk about our art.
If you hadn't mentioned dinner, Mr. Gallinari, I would have said no.
You know how it is with an artist. You know how we become obsessed sometimes, obsessed with a certain idea, a certain passion for a subject.
No, Mr. Gallinari, I wouldn't know. I lost all my passion for art a long time ago.
But if you had the inspiration, if there was one thing you wanted to paint more than anything else in the world, believe me, the passion would come flooding back like the tide.
And do you have such a subject in mind?
Yes, I do. A subject which has haunted me for years, more years than I wish to count.
And this has something to do with me?
Everything to do with you. Will you have another glass of wine?
Sure, since you're buying.
You see, Mr. Raymond, I am contemplating a certain work, a sculptural project, and one which would be impossible without you.
How could that be?
In order to answer that question, I have to bring up a subject which may be painful to you.
A lot of subjects are painful to me, Mr. Gallinari.
This one, I think, has left the deepest wound.
Wait a minute.
Yes, Mr. Raymond. I mean your parents.
How do you know who I am? Did Lisa tell you?
Oh, no. No, I assure you, the young woman at the gallery said nothing at all to me about you.
And how did you know, damn it?
Because I've made it my business to find you. Believe me, it's taken a very long time. The last address I had for you was in the Midwest. Then I ran across one of your paintings in a traveling exhibit, the Moorland exhibit.
Yeah, that was the only show I've been in, and nothing sold.
I found out that you were in San Francisco from the proprietors of the exhibit. Finally, I saw your work in a little gallery on Green Street. Your style is unmistakable.
Rotten, but unmistakable.
Mr. Raymond, I remember the beautiful Ada.
Go on.
I'm quite a few years older than you. I have a very clear memory of how your mother looked on the stage before her retirement. I thought then that she was the most beautiful woman I had ever seen.
Beauty is very fleeting, Mr. Gallinari. Like life itself.
Yes, I know that. But then, that's why artists are born, aren't they? To capture that fleeting beauty and imprison it on canvas or in clay or in what? Or in other media.
Why don't you get to the point, Mr. Gallinari?
Your mother's beauty is the point. If I had been the sculptor then that I am now, I would have carved her image then. But alas, I was only a boy.
I still don't know what you want from me.
I want to sculpt your mother's image, Mr. Raymond. But there is only one drawback. I have no model to work from.
There's nothing I can do about that. My mother's been dead for 25 years.
I know there are some faded old newspaper photographs of her, but they're not really helpful, not to someone who insists on verisimilitude.
I don't see why it's so important. Who cares what Ada Krim looked like?
But I care. Very much. You see, I've already started the project.
You have?
Yes. I've been using the crude photographs of her as a guide. I have obtained a sort of likeness.
Look, I cannot stop you from doing what you please, Mr. Gallinari. If you're asking for my permission...
Well, in a way, yes, I suppose I am. It does seem like a slight invasion of privacy. Yeah.
All right. If your conscience bothers you, I'll tell you what you can do. You can order another bottle of wine.
Mr. Raymond, I would gladly order you a case if you would give me one more permission.
What's that?
To sculpt your father, too.
My father?
As I said, this is a form of obsession with me. But from the moment I began work on the statue of Ada Krim, I felt that I couldn't stop until I had also done the head of John Lloyd Raymond.
He's dead, Mr. Gallinari. I have no way to prevent you from sculpting him or painting him or anything else, but I'll tell you one thing. You won't get me to talk about him.
Oh, no. I would not dream of it. But you see, I have a peculiar problem. While there are some likenesses of Ada Krim available, in the case of your father, well, I cannot find a single photograph. I have searched and come to a dead end. And what I was wondering, I know this is an imposition, if there is something in your possession...
You think I have a picture of him?
It was only a hope. I know his memory is painful, but you were his son, and sometimes, well, there are souvenirs one hates to discard. Well, Mr. Raymond?
I have pictures of him.
You do?
I won't give them to you.
Please, don't be so hasty.
I won't give them to you. But I'll sell them to you.
Oh, yes, of course. I'm perfectly willing to pay.
I owe Lisa Brandon and her brother exactly $127. That's the price.
Done, Mr. Raymond. $127. And I'll still throw in that case of wine.
Vincent told me about Mr. Gallinari's visit when he paid me back the money that we'd loaned him. He didn't really care about those photographs he had. He was happy to have gotten rid of the debt. But there was only one thing wrong. I think you must know what I mean.
Yes, I think I do. Raphael Gallinari didn't tell Vincent Raymond the whole truth.
No, he didn't tell him the truth. He didn't tell him what kind of a sculptor he was, or what use he would make of his work after it was completed.
Yeah.
And obviously he didn't tell him the medium he would use to carve the statues.
No. He didn't tell him that the medium would be wax.
And that the subject would be murder.
And what happened when Vincent Raymond learned of the duplicity of Raphael Gallinari? Or was it really duplicity? Gallinari said he was a sculptor. Gallinari said he believed in authenticity. And of course, Gallinari paid for the privilege of using Vincent's photographs as a model. But has Gallinari paid enough? We'll find out when I return shortly with Act 3. And now, here's Act 3 of The Murder Museum. For Vincent Raymond, all nights are the same. A dark passage into yesterday. A grim return trip to the past. But men must sleep, and sleepers must dream. So there's no escape for him.
Ada!
John, please believe me.
Ada!
He means nothing to me, I swear it.
And that's why he was in your bedroom, Ada?
Please.
Is that why?
Please, think of our little boy.
Ada!
Look at Vincent. You're frightening him to death.
Death! That's right, Ada. Death! That's what you deserve!
Oh,
Ada!
no!
That's what you deserve!
Oh, dear God. When will it stop? When will that dream stop? Who is it?
It's me, Vincent. It's Lisa.
Lisa? Oh, wait a minute. Hey, what is it? What are you doing here so early?
I just couldn't wait. I've got wonderful news for you, Vincent.
What about?
Your painting, the large one in the window, it's been sold.
Sold? You're joking. Who would buy it?
Oh, please, let me come in.
All right. Just let me get a robe on.
It happened first thing this morning. The gallery wasn't open more than 10 minutes, and this man walked in wearing a Homburg, Vincent. I didn't think people wore Homburgs anymore. He did.
Well, who was he? What was his
Well, he
name?
gave me a card. Oh, wait a minute. It's right here. I've got it in my purse.
It wasn't someone named Gallinari, was it?
What?
Raphael Gallinari calls himself a sculptor?
No. No, it wasn't him. It's, wait, his name is, here it is, Charles Mulholland. Does that mean anything?
Mulholland, that's Mulholland Gallery in Chicago. High priced. Oh, no, I doubt if there's any connection.
Well, anyway, he bought it, Vincent, without any quibble about the price, and in fact, he was surprised that it was so low.
Miracles never cease, do they?
Oh, Vincent, if he really is somebody, then maybe your work will start to be recognized.
Oh, forget it, Lisa. There isn't any more work for me. Just waiting on tables. That's my art. And I'm getting better at it all the time.
Well, anyway, here's your money. It's all in $50 bills.
Wait now. That's the full $300. What about the gallery's commission?
Oh, don't be technical, Vincent. You need the money more than we need the commission.
No, sirree. You've got to accept 1/3 of it.
All right.
It wouldn't be fair otherwise.
I knew you'd feel that way.
I can't believe it. It's the first painting I've sold, Lisa. Do you realize that?
I told you had talent. That'll teach you to listen to me.
You're right. I should always listen to you, Lisa.
Oh,
Listen, I've got an idea. Have you had breakfast yet?
Well, I had coffee.
Tell you what. I'm going to get dressed, and we'll go celebrate with champagne and eggs Benedict. And then we're going out tonight. I'm going to buy you the
that's
fanciest
wonderful.
dinner in San Francisco.
Well, Vincent, you can't spend all the money in one day.
Why not? Probably the first and last money I'll ever make from my paintings. Let's put it to good use.
Well, it seems that Vincent had more talent than anyone realized. Those dark and gloomy paintings seemed to have the qualities of genius. At least, that's what Mr. Mulholland said in his letter.
Lisa, Listen to this. Just listen to this.
Go on, I'm
He says,
listening.
the Mulholland Gallery would be most interested in arranging an exhibition of your work.
Oh.
Listen, they're willing to pay all the costs of carding and insuring the paintings. They'll even pay my fare and expenses to Chicago so I can attend the opening. Lisa, can you believe it?
Oh, Vincent, it's the most wonderful thing I ever heard.
Well, it's not a one-man show, nothing that grand, but the Mulholland Gallery. That's one of the best, Lisa, one of the most prestigious.
Do you know when you'll be leaving?
As soon as I can get all the stuff crated and shipped. I guess the sooner the better. Lisa, why don't you come with me?
Oh, I couldn't do that. I still have to be at the
Your
gallery.
brother can take care of it for a week or so. That's all the time it'll take.
Oh, I just couldn't do it, Vincent. But when you have that big one-man show, I promise to be there.
And that was when Vincent Raymond went to Chicago.
Yes, that was his reason for going there. A very happy reason.
Was the show a success?
Oh, it was. The press reception to Vincent's work was very good, far better than the evaluation he received back home. I guess it's true what they say about a prophet being without honor in his own country. In this case, in his own state. There were 12 paintings in all the exhibit, and at least half of them were sold in the first week. And for the first time, Vincent was a happy man. He sent me just one letter, and it contained a very good piece of news. Perhaps even more important than the news of his artistic success.
Dear Lisa, just a quick note to tell you that I'm well and spending money like a drunken sailor. I've bought 2 new suits. Yes, I said suits with matching pants and jacket, believe it or not. But more important, I'll tell you one other thing that seems to have happened to me. For the last 3 nights, I've slept without a dream. I think you must realize the importance of that, Lisa. 3 nights of dreamless sleep. The most precious 3 nights of my existence.
But those dreamless nights didn't last very long. Because the very next morning at breakfast in his hotel room, Vincent opened the local paper and saw a strangely familiar name.
Gallinari. Gallinari? What's that all about? Announcing the opening of Gallinari's Murder Museum. Oh, no. That can't be the same man. The Murder Museum, world's most terrifying house of wax, vivid recreation scenes of crime, passion, and horror never before witnessed. Oh, it can't be the same man. It can't be. Where's that phone number? Oh. Hello. Is this the Murder Museum? Yes, I know you're not open yet. Listen, I want to ask you a question. This man, Gallinari, I want to know his first name. Raphael. When he is. Listen, what time are you open? No earlier than that? Then tell me where I can find Mr. Gallinari. Yes, it's important. No, my name does not matter. All right. First show, 2 o'clock. Oh, dear God, don't let it be true.
And here, ladies and gentlemen, you see the notorious mass murderer of Huntersville, Nebraska, who not only dispatched his victims with poison, but then mutilated their bodies in the dreadful fashion you see before you. And now, if you'll step to the next exhibit, you will see the latest addition to Professor Gallinari's world-famous murder museum. For the first time in any house of wax, the horrifying axe murder of one of the most glamorous women ever to appear upon the American stage.
It's true.
They called her the beautiful Ada. And yes, Ada was beautiful as she was faithless. And one day, her wealthy manufacturer husband, John Lloyd Raymond, returned home from a business
I've got to ask you something.
Excuse me, sir, but I'm still not
Gallinari.
through with this.
Where is he? Does he have an office at this museum?
Well, now, please,
Look,
sir,
I've got to see him. Make him remove this abomination.
Well, no, his office is in the rear. I don't know if he's...
Out of my way!
Now, just here. Come back here.
Who is it?
Open up, Gallinari. Open the door.
Yes, what is it?
Let me in. I have to talk to you.
I'm sorry, I'm quite busy at the moment, and Raymond? Is that you?
Yes, Vincent Raymond.
What are you doing in Chicago?
The question is, what have you done?
Now, be calm, young man. There is nothing to get so excited about.
That's your art out there, Gallinari, out there. That's the verisimilitude you were talking about?
Yes, that's right. I tried to be faithful to the original. I'm not ashamed.
You liar, you thief!
Now, come. I've stolen nothing. I've imitated life, but stolen nothing. Now, please, sit down. Calm yourself. Let me offer you a drink.
You lied to me. You pretended to be something you weren't. You never told me you were going to create that horror out there.
I told you only the truth. That I wish to do a sculpture of your mother and father. I only neglected to tell you the medium. Some artists work with clay and marble. I chose wax. Is that so wrong?
You know it's wrong. You made a public spectacle out of it. And now you're going to do something about it. You're going to get rid of that thing out there.
I am afraid that's impossible. The exhibit took months to create. They all do. The investment in time and money.
I'll sue you. I will make you destroy it.
Ah, Mr. Raymond, don't make unnecessary problems for yourself. Murder is in the public domain.
There has to be some way to make you tear it down, and I will. I swear it. I won't let that thing stand.
Of course, I know myself what happened next. Because I was there in the murder museum. The night that your friend Vincent Raymond returned.
Oh, please. Can you tell me about it? I never did know the details.
Well, from what I understand, he went to a lawyer the very next day to see if there was some legal means to get Gallinari to destroy the exhibit. He must have gotten some idea how difficult it would be to get an injunction against the museum. Because that's when he decided that the only recourse was to destroy the sculpture itself.
Yes, that would be like Vincent.
And what he did was very simple. He came back to the museum for the last show of the day. But during the tour, he slipped away from the crowd and hid behind one of the curtains until everyone had gone. And then he walked up to the exhibit and stopped in front of it. Of course, the instrument he needed to destroy the exhibit was already there. The fire axe was real, like the clothes of the wax figures and the furnishings of the room. All he had to do was take the axe out of the hands of his father's statue, and that's what he did.
Destroy. Must be destroyed.
I saw him standing there, as still as the wax figures themselves. And I froze in the doorway, too, afraid to move. Because I saw his eyes. And I was afraid to become a victim, too. And then I heard him sobbing.
You shouldn't have done it. Shouldn't have done it.
I saw him turn the axe toward the figure of his father. But then a strange thing happened. He began to shake from head to foot. He seemed unable to bring the axe down on the figure of John Lloyd Wayne.
No, it wasn't your fault. It was hers.
Suddenly he turned around and brought the axe down on the wax figure of his mother.
You're one who did it! You did it!
That was when Professor Gallinari himself came out of his office.
Stop it! Stop it!
Raymond dropped the axe. The destruction of the wax figure complete. But Gallinari was infuriated and threw his arms around his throat. Raymond struggled with him. They fell in a heap to the floor.
Stop it. Don't say any more, please. I'm sorry. I just can't bear to hear any more.
Does that mean that you don't want to see the Raymond exhibit now?
No, I still want to see it. But I'm taking the next flight back to San Francisco, so I suppose there's no use.
Well, I guess it's only fair that I show it to you, Miss Brandon, since you came all this way. We keep the curtain closed whenever we're fixing up an exhibit or preparing to show something new.
This is really very kind of you.
Oh, that's all right. I just hope that you don't find the exhibit too depressing.
Is it a very good likeness?
Yes, I think it's very good. But judge for yourself. As you can see, the figures are all ready, but the furnishings need some work still. Well, what do you think?
It's horrible. Horrible. Oh, I'm sorry. I know I shouldn't say that. I did ask you to show it to me.
Yes, I was afraid you'd feel that way, miss. Because the likeness is really very good. It was Gallinari's brother who did the statue of the professor. Naturally, he'd get that right.
But that's Vincent, too.
Yes.
It's just like him.
It's a very good likeness of Vincent Raymond. That's just how he looked when he strangled the life out of Professor Gallinari. Right here in the Murder Museum.
If you are contemplating a visit to a wax museum, we pass on this advice to you. 1, don't go during a heat wave. 2, make sure that you can stand the sight of wax. And 3, be certain you don't have any murderous ancestors who just might show up in one of the exhibits. I'll be back shortly. We hope you enjoyed tonight's tour through the Murder Museum. We hope that you'll always come back through the creaking door of the Radio Mystery Theater, because it's the one place you can enter where your imagination provides the real thrills. Tonight, we tried to aid that imagination with the voices of Michael Wager, Marion Seldes, Robert Dryden, and Leon Janney. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown. This is E.G. Marshall inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time, pleasant dreams.